It's finally happening. Cars are coming to the world of Fortnite. Welcome everybody. My name is Matt, aka The Constant, and in today's Fortnite video, we're going over the new leaked release date of cars in Fortnite, what cars will be able to drive, and how they will all work. If you guys are excited to finally drive cars in Fortnite, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Fortnite Chapter 2 Season 3 related. Now we have a lot of inspecting to do. Get it? Cars? Inspection? No? Alright, let's just jump right into the information. Alright, so the first and probably most popular question I get asked is when will cars actually come to Fortnite? Well, thanks to this tweet right over here by Shina BR Fortnite Leaks, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, and thanks to a bunch of other leakers besides this leaker, and thanks to Happy Power that's actually in this tweet, we have it confirmed. Cars will be added to the game on July 21st, according to a source at Epic Games who contacted Happy Power. It's also worth mentioning that the water drops to a lower level on this day, which gives the cars enough space to be useful in the first place. So basically, Happy Power is another Fortnite leaker who had supposedly had contact with an Epic employee who knows this leaked information. Now, no one knows who this employee is that's leaking everything, but we can assume that he'll get caught eventually. Regardless, if nothing changes, July 21st is the day that we have to look forward to finally be able to drive cars in Fortnite. With that information out of the way, let's get into the cars that we'll be able to drive and their stats. So you may have seen these posters or teasers in one of my previous videos or on the Fortnite map itself. Well, these four vehicles are supposedly the vehicles we'll be getting on July 1st, and I have their stats for you right now. All the following car values and stats are thanks to Hypex via a Reddit post. Alright, so starting off with the smallest car first, the Prevalent. It looks like your basic car, pretty cool in red, and it has a max health of 800. Now for the rest of the stats regarding the Prevalent. So the fuel tank capacity for the Prevalent is 100, that makes sense. The fuel per second while idle, so while not moving, is 0, that also makes sense. The fuel it will use per second while driving is 0.375 of its total fuel, and the fuel per second while boosting is 5% of the fuel. Now these cars have a certain amount of fuel that they can spawn in with. For the Prevalent, it has a minimum fuel at spawn of 40, so only 40% of its fuel at spawn minimum. At maximum, it could spawn with 100% of its fuel. So on average, we'll probably see the Prevalent spawn in with 70% of its fuel, but we'll have to see. Lastly, fuel per second leaking is 2. That means when the car is damaged, it will leak fuel, and this one will leak 2% of its fuel per second while leaking. Alright, our second car is the Whiplash, probably the most popular of the cars before anyone gets to try them out, because it looks like a sports car. The Whiplash is our medium-sized car and has a max health of 1000. The fuel tank capacity is 100 and the fuel per second while idle is 0, makes sense. Now the fuel per second while driving is 0.5, a little bit more than our last car, the Prevalent, and the fuel per second while boosting is 5, the same as the Prevalent. So it makes you wonder, will this car actually go faster than the Prevalent since it's using more fuel per second while driving? I have to assume so, and since it's a sports car, it would make sense, but we'll have to wait and see for that information. Our minimum fuel at spawn is 40 and the max is 100, just like the Prevalent, and the fuel per second leaking is 2, just like the Prevalent. On to our large car, the Bear. The OG Bear looks like a truck, and it has a max health of 1200. So the Bear is our large car and has a fuel tank capacity of 150. Fuel per second is still 0, but the Bear can hold more fuel than the Whiplash and the Prevalent. And that's probably because the fuel per second driving is 0.75 more than the Prevalent and the Whiplash. The fuel per second boosting is also 9, which is an insane amount of fuel for a boost. The minimum fuel that the Bear can spawn with is 50 and the maximum fuel is 150, and the fuel per second leaking is 2, just like the other cars. Last but not least, we have the Mud Flap, looking monstrous on the road. Now quick note, this one's called a truck on this post. We do believe this one is the truck, even though the other one looked like a truck as well. The stats do seem to back that up. The fuel capacity is 100, the fuel per second is 0 while idle, the fuel per second while driving is 0.333, so not using a lot of fuel while driving, but while boosting is using a 10% of the fuel. That's an insane amount of fuel. The minimum fuel that this can spawn with is 80 and the maximum is 100, so there's not a lot of room for leeway there. and the fuel per second while leaking is also 2. Now, there wasn't an actual maximum health on this post for this vehicle, but we do believe it is above 1200, and if it's following the trend, it should be about 1400. Next, let's talk about spawn rates. So the minimum vehicle to spawn is 1. So we believe that's 1 on the map would be minimum, and the maximum vehicles to spawn is 10. And below that is just some stats dictating as to whether or not the vehicles will spawn with the minimum gas or the maximum gas amount. That's about it for all the stats on all the cars, but I also want to mention that Fortnite has been developing this concept of cars for a long time now. One example of this is that Fire Monkey tweeted this on December of last year, December 12th actually. This ammo was added in version 11.30 for BR. You can find these gas canisters scattered around the Fortnite map. There's one behind Misty Meadows to the southwest side on the mountain by the Dance Cottage. We believe that these, along with the gas stations scattered around the map, will be able to help us fill up the cars with gasoline. We've actually already been able to see on the map the locations of these gas stations once we get into a helicopter or a boat. We'll just have to wait and see how it all works, but I'm really excited to try out these cars. Alright, and that about wraps it up for this video. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things car related and all things Fortnite Chapter 2 Season 3 related. We just recently hit our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Thank you for everyone who helped us get there. Next up is 2,000 subscribers. We're going to keep setting goals on the channel and we're going to keep breaking them. Big thank you to everyone showing their support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.